Human nature was created to connect, to relate, to interact. The starting point to parental-child relationship is parents are supposed to teach and prepare their children for life. There is a whole science I will not get into of human connection, even during pregnancy, the warmth, the peace that the child gets, even when they are still on the inside. It begins as early. How parents are connected at that time. You've seen husbands who touch their wives.
The bump, yes.
The bump.
Yes.
Because if a child on the inside is sensing confusion in the world, then they're going to come out in a certain way. And they are just going to question so many things. They are not just thinking, yes, mommy, yes, daddy, yes. They ask questions, which parents don't understand. But what I wanted to emphasize is the independence, because now they realize they are now going to shape their future. And so they are thinking so much. And they also need space to think. And so there are certain moments where you're going to direct this child to the Lord and say, is there anything you want me to pray about? Or do you want to pray? Or do you want to talk to someone? I want to emphasize the issue of parents turning their children into their confidants, yet we don't consider the weight we are putting on them. As a matter of fact, this is one of the reasons some children are carrying traumatic experiences, because there are certain things they are not able to deal with at a certain point.
Hello and welcome to Reality Check. Welcome to this amazing family. Every week we have conversations on mental health in the areas of family, relationships, marriage, and the workplace. So if you are looking to take care of your mental well-being, you are in the right place. Consider subscribing to our channel and share this episode with a friend or two or a family member. You might find it useful. To those of you that are regulars, welcome back. Thank you for your feedback, your comments. We appreciate hearing from you every single week. Today is no different. We have a wonderful conversation lined up for you. My name is Rachel Mwine. I'm your host, and I'm joined by Dr. Evas Atwine, who is the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. In simple terms, it's a therapy practice. So if you need support in your family relations, in your marriage relations, on your parenting journey, perhaps you have a child who needs support, she's the right person to go to. Welcome, Dr. Evas, to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Today we have a conversation in the area of parenting. Something that has turned out to be rather controversial, and we're going to get into why it is controversial. You've had people ask, should I be friends with my children? Can I be best friends with my children? Can a parent be best friends with their child? And so we want to get into those murky waters. If that's a question that has been on your mind, welcome aboard. We are going to dive right into this conversation. So Dr. Evas, is it possible to be friends with your children? Can parents and children be friends? What does that friendship look like? Maybe break it down for us.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm just trying to get where to start
Starting
from.
Point,
yes. Because actually, maybe I would say yes. I don't know what that means, but yes, I'm a parent, and I know parents desire. Should I say desire? We work so hard to be friends with our children. But the question is that what we should be aiming at? Because what are we supposed to do? And I also try to understand the science of friendship and relationships.
Yes.
What does it mean? So when we say, can we be best friends? Best friends has brought us problems in
the past. Yes, it has.
So I have a bit of traumatic feelings here. But the question is, how do we be friends with people? Now, I'm very sure you have friends. I have friends. But who do we call a best friend? So let me start there and explain the psychology of attachment and connection, because we all desire to connect to someone. I have said here that human nature was created to connect, to relate, to interact, but also to, in those interactions, to attach and connect. And so it's important that we have meaningful relationships are built on connection. Now, that's why I've always, for instance, told people and myself that it's not enough to be related. It's important to be connected.
Connected, yes.
And you can be as related as can be, but you're not connected.
There's
right?
a difference.
There's a difference. So connection is what gives us fulfillment, is what gives us meaningful relationships. So I know what parents, all of us parents, are looking for. We are looking to connect. We are looking for that. But that connection is a result of how we treat one another. Right?
Yeah.
How we make each other
Feel.
It's as simple as that. And so when we know that, then we have to ask ourselves, how do I treat my child? What are their expectations? How would they connect with me? Now, when we try to navigate that, now most parenting is very challenging. So we try to get there, and then we come back and we go like, have I done that? How can a child connect with me? And I'm very sure in this conversation we're going to talk about how to connect with a child, because yes, I know that we all want connection. Not I don't know what that friendship.
Yeah.
But you see, we all want our children to connect with us, so that then we can discuss in detail
the things
they are going through. They can open up to us. That is important for any parent. But should that come out of friendship or connection? So I think that's what we are trying. If friendship means connection, then my answer is yes.
Yes. Yeah. So and I think friendship, like you said, you can be friends with someone, but you're not connected.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. So you can't be friends with your children and lose out on the connection.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think it's important as a parent to figure out, like, what am I aiming at? And I think connection is deeper, if you ask
Connection
me.
is deeper.
Yeah.
You see, a person you're connected to is going to trust you. A person you connect to, you're connected to, they are going to be vulnerable. That's what we want our children to. We want our children to be vulnerable with us and open up to us. But what should we aim at? Because you see, what you aim at is going to determine the energy and the effort you put in.
Yeah.
So if you just do friendship, then that is, again, you see, these are moving statements.
Yes.
I call them human innovations, because we've talked about it here, where people are aiming to have their partners to be friends. And I say, there's nothing wrong with it, but make sure you're connected.
Yeah.
Because you see, connection is much easier to define than friendship. This is a loose statement. Anyone can use it in their own way. Yeah. We can say BFFs, eh?
Yes, best friends forever.
But also, okay, does it happen? How does it look like? So what we are supposed to do, and again, that's what we are getting into, is let's do parenting the way we are supposed to do, not aim at just friends.
Just being friends. So there's parents who have said, my child is my best friend. Maybe they're a single parent and, they've developed a closeness with their child because, they are the only parent that has been available at the time. Or you find maybe, and please forgive me, I don't mean to attack people, like maybe say marriages where there are struggles, perhaps the husband and the wife are not connected. So you'll find that the wife maybe finds solace in her children, and so they become her best friend. They become her, like the person, the people that she goes to, because they understand her and they understand her struggles. So how is this relationship? First of all, is that problematic? Is there anything wrong with that? But also, how is that relationship likely to affect the other relationships that they are experiencing, especially the child. Because as a child, I'm still making friends. I'm growing. I am exploring the world. I'm experiencing the world. So in terms of parents wanting to be friends with their child and pursuing that, how will that relationship affect their ability to connect with other people and become friends with them?
You see, relationships are built, let me answer you starting here. Relationships are built on expectations. Relationships, relationships are built on invisible expectations. And I always tell people that they are invisible MOUs.
Yes.
Now, so when I'm like we working together, there is an expectation.
Yeah.
May not be written anywhere. It's there. I have a husband. There is an expectation. I have children. There is an expectation they have on me. I have an expectation on them. And you see, this is clearly stipulated in the Bible, right? We have all this, but of course there are others that are just invisible. They are not written anywhere. But the starting point to parental-child relationship is parents are supposed to teach and prepare their children for life.
For life, yeah.
Right? And so when they teach, the child is expecting the parent to guide. The parent is expecting this child to obey, and follow rules. We have talked about this so much. I've also mentioned some parenting styles where a parent, actually, I'll mention it, but let me smuggle it in now, where a parent, their intention, their aim is to make sure that they please the child, right? But then we are supposed to teach. Read the whole Bible. Teach and instruct. Train and, teach. What are we teaching? We are preparing them for life. We are preparing them on how to manage life. Now, you asked a question. So if you have prepared this child and then later on you go to them to take certain burdens to them, and they become your go-to.
Yes.
Your go-to person. Now that's fluid because we don't even know the age, and I know some people can go to a child as little as a little teenager.
Yeah.
I don't even know what age, but the principle is this child, we have to understand that they are still going through. That's why I was talking about training. At a certain point, they don't know how to reason certain things. For instance, their brain development doesn't accommodate certain weights.
Yes.
You see? Yes. So if she's still young, she hasn't developed a part of the brain responsible for logical thinking. This is something that is still developing up to age 25, right?
Imagine that.
Yeah, up to age 25. So when they are still young, they are using the emotional mind. From teenage stage, they are now beginning to develop the logical mind, that executive wing of the brain that is responsible for life management, like planning, problem solving, logical thinking, decision making. That's a part that is not yet, it's just started beginning to form. And then you bring this weight on them and you tell them how you have marital issues, how you have, that can be overwhelming to a child. So I'm sure any parent that has gone to a child to say, you're my best friend, let me tell you this, that might be too much for them. And so what happens? This child is going to absorb it emotionally, and it can easily crush them.
Yeah.
So it's very important that parents, even as we share with children, that you might need to find another person, to share that. Secondly, if one parent is going to a child to tell them that, then you also have to know that that's likely to disorganize the entire family system, So if the parents are having conflicts and then you take this to a child, how are they supposed to deal with the other parent? So it always creates so much confusion. And so that's why we encourage that if parents have a challenge in their relationships, they need to find other support systems and protect children, because, as I said, there is a conflict.
Yes.
A conflict there. Now, your child might be as wise as can be, and probably as helpful, as loving as can be, but there's an amount of weight they may not be able to take. And so looking at them as your best friend
Confident.
and confident,
Yeah.
that might be too much on them. They only have one brain, they don't have a spare brain.
Yeah.
So if they have to process this and then see how they look at their mom or see how they look at their dad, and now they are trying to reconcile a number of things, that might be too much on them. So it's not advisable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you talked about friendship versus connection. And I think what parents really, really want is connection.
It's connection.
Yes, like you mentioned, I think the whole friendship idea is human innovation. You know, it's very nice for you to be friends, because I think parents want their children to trust them. They want their children to open up to them. But I think what fosters that is connection. So talk to us about fostering connection. What does that look like? What does it, and maybe break it down in terms of like age categories. Starting from maybe 5-6 years, is it possible to foster a connection with your child, and going to teenage years?
Connection happens right from when we are still on the inside, right? There is a whole science I will not get into of human connection, even during pregnancy. The way there's a lot of science there, that the warmth, the peace that the child gets, even when they are still on the inside. But that's a conversation for another time. But I wanted to just say it begins as
early
as that. How parents are connected at that time. You've seen husbands who touch their wives.
The bump, yes.
The bump.
Yes.
And that is all psychology. That's very important. That's why we advise that even from that point, check how you're relating. Because if a child on the inside is sensing confusion in the world, then they're going to come out in a certain way. And so that it begins there. But also the peace that the mom, the peace that they have, the inner peace, the way they love the baby on the inside, it begins there. Now, connection, once again, I mentioned that we are all born to connect and relate. So this baby coming out, we see all this. We don't pay attention to detail, but we see that the child is looking for connection. For instance, when a child has, when they are crying and they are so little, and you put them on your chest.
Yeah.
This that's what we call the power of touch. Yeah. Physical touch. So when you get them on your body, then they calm down. What does that look? What's that? So what that means, what happens is that when a baby's body connects with a parent's body, I'm talking about connection. That's where it begins. Then they develop what we call a bonding hormone called oxytocin. So oxytocin is a bonding hormone. What do we need? Bonding. You see, that's connection. So it begins there, and so it creates that happiness. So what happens? Then they also trust.
Yes.
This is how we trust. So children trust that the world is safe because they're dealing with
their mom,
the first contact to the world.
Yes.
And so both the mom and the dad. And if you start at that point, you're developing a stronger relationship. Right? Yeah. So that's why we encourage that as much as possible. You've heard me say, please, parents, touch your children. Touch your children. Right from that point, of course, there we have nothing to do, but as children begin to be independent and walk around, then we leave them. We never connect. We just go, we call them, come and tell. So we instruct, but we are not building a bond. Yeah, we are not building connection. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, again, building trust. Building trust, children see all this happening, and they are so observant. I've mentioned here that what children see constitutes 80% of how they perceive the world. So they learn more. 80% is modeled behavior.
Yes.
And so when they observe that you're not threatening, they can come to you. They can be vulnerable. They can come. They can play. They can jump on you. They can go down. That is building connection. You see, but you've seen parents who are either unavailable, right? So a child has no chance to just play or
and
be themselves. And they are going to read your body language when because who wants to connect with threats? When a parent is threatening, they may not say anything, but their body language may not show that you're welcome.
Yeah.
And so, but then when a child senses they can be free, they can play, so they feel connected. Remember, human nature gravitates towards grace, pleasure, that connection. Now, when a child senses that they can play, they can fall, you're kind. You've had parents also say, "That's good for you." But when a child senses that you're gracious, they can make a mistake. And I'm talking as young, right from when they are so little, they are going to see this. Then they are also going to see how the parents relate, the whole home environment. If they sense that the home environment is threatening, they're not hostile, they're not going to connect. And can I just mention here, Rachel, that children are always reading their parents' faces. They always are looking like this. So they look at you and say, should I cry? Should I jump? Should I smile? Should I not? Now, that is going to build trust. So they trust the world through us.
Through their parents, yes.
So if they sense that the parent can be trusted, then they are going to want to connect with them.
Okay. So trust is very important.
Trust is very important.
Yeah.
Warmth. Warmth is important. What do I mean by warmth? When it is a moment to be happy, you
bring
receive
them in.
When they fall down and you need to comfort them, that's warmth. We have moments where we can express warmth.
Yeah.
Then again, human nature, just like plants, gravitate towards warmth and light.
And light, yes.
Okay? So they're going to want to connect with us. And then, because then they realize you're not threatening. Yeah? You're warm. Now, I every time I'm taking a shower, put a shower and you are a person of warm water.
Yeah.
When it brings cold water, what do? We do this and keep checking.
Yes, keep checking if it is warm.
So that's exactly the same thing with relationships.
Yeah.
When we become cold, people just distance themselves. So children, when they sense a parent is cold, right, they're not going to come to them. They're just going to withdraw and look for other avenues of warmth. Okay? Now, as children grow, they also are looking for who can listen to them.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Even when they are little, by the way, they are looking for, can you listen? Have you seen a child come and tell you their stories? And they're just breaking it. Even when they are young, they're just babbling. And then a parent loses attention. They get so angry. Now, it begins there. When they are young, they are waiting. Mommy. And so when a parent doesn't give them attention, so this is another one, attention. When we don't give attention, children interpret parental attention as respect and love. So when a parent doesn't give attention, they are talking to you, you're on phone. And then they say, Mommy, Mommy. And then you say, you're disturbing me. Then they just zone out. Yeah. And this can happen as early.
It's 1-2 years.
1-2 years. Yeah. They sense that you're not giving them attention, you don't love them.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you do not give them attention, then they will just withdraw. They will not connect with you. And sometimes parents zone out. They don't give attention. They only show up when they are giving instruction.
Oh, wow.
Didn't I tell you to do that? Didn't I tell you to do that? Now, who connects with you through instruction?
No one. Absolutely no one.
Absolutely no one. So that's important. Then another important element, and I know that most of the time we get desperate when our children turn pre-teens and teens, is when they trust that you can keep their secrets. Right?
Wow.
Now, some parents have really, I want to emphasize that, Rachel, because teenage stage confuses everyone.
Yep.
And that's where most parents realize that children are far gone.
Yeah.
Now, can I mention that even when you have done all the things we've done when the children are young, at teenage stage it's going to be different. And let me explain this to parents. That teenage stage is a stage of independence and independent thinking for children. They've gotten to a point where they are no longer working off just the concrete information you have given them. They've now crossed to what we call abstract thinking. Concrete thinking is where a child just thinks what you have given them. But then here, they are no longer children. Their brains are opening. They are looking, the world has opened up. They are looking at the future. They are zoning into the future, but they are also looking at where they've been. And they're just going to question so many things. But let me emphasize the thinking. They are now thinking. They are not just thinking, yes, mommy, yes, daddy, yes. That's when children begin to say, what do you mean?
Yeah, ask questions.
They ask questions, which parents don't understand. But what I wanted to emphasize is the independence, because now they are here, they realize they are now going to shape their future. They are not just going to depend on what you were saying only. They are looking at Bill Gates, Dewey Who, and so many things. And so they are thinking so much. And they also need space to think.
That's true.
And that's why they withdraw a bit. Something that confuses parents, they say, so when you run after them, you're trying to connect at this point, and you haven't connected in the earlier years, it's going to be much more difficult. But even when you have tried to connect, here, children will still want their independence. You know? And they need their biggest need is to be understood, that they are thinking on their own. So once a parent knows, you can still be connected, but you grant that freedom, that flexibility, a little autonomy for them to think and then come back to you. Now, unfortunately, that's the stage where children are going through so much change. Their bodily changes, hormones, so many things that need guidance. And parents get desperate. We all get desperate because we are hoping that they can navigate this stage. But at the same time, they are zoning out. So what happens here is that parents still need to use their relational resources to grant a bit of independence, to say, do you need any help? Or you seem to be, so you make observations on what this child is going through, but still connect with them. And I always comfort parents, let me say that again here, that stage ends.
It will pass.
It passes. Now, when parents approach it desperately, and say, tell me, what's going on? Why are you? And children, when they hear noise at this point, they lock parents out.
Shut you out.
They just shut you out. They can shut you out looking at you. They won't say anything. Or they will just put earphones. Or they will lock themselves in the bedrooms.
Then you'll get even more desperate.
Then you get more desperate. But what they need here is, those who still have younger children, please try to connect with them at this point. Build that trust. Build the warmth. Let children know that they can fall and come back to you. Now, when a teenager is navigating that stage, they're going to hit so many dead ends. And if they have their parent as someone they could go to ask questions, they will still come back to you.
Yeah.
They're going to appear rebellious, independent. You always hear those things. Now I'm independent. Now I'm big. Now, but that's okay. But when you approach it graciously, so that grace that is needed, that warmth that is needed, that understanding that is needed, very, very important.
Yeah.
But Rachel, I had mentioned something I need to emphasize. When children, especially teenagers, know that you can protect their information. Now, most of the time, parents use information to pray, to call our prayer partners. And these children are hearing,
Yes.
because who wants their story told to everyone? They are human beings.
Yeah.
And so they want to know that they can tell you this, and if they tell you that this is my secret,
keep it.
Yeah. Keep it, because you see, they need to trust you. Because if you share your deepest secret with someone who is going to make it a public secret,
you'll never
it doesn't
trust
matter
them.
whether they are your children
parent,
or not.
Yes.
You see? So we need, as parents, we need to know that we need to pay attention to that and know that I need to protect, I need to exercise integrity. If I said I'm going to protect this information, then I protect it, but not use it everywhere, to the pastor, to my best friend. That really kills relationships with children.
Yeah,
with children.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I want us to go to the extreme where we've heard about parents who are not seeing eye to eye with their children. So something definitely went wrong, and I think you've mentioned the fact that as parents we are desperate to have connection with our children, and I think some of us remember when it's a bit late. Now when there's so much transition, so much change happening in the lives of our children, I want you to speak to that parent who, for them, it's like, I don't even have a starting point. My child hates me. I can't seem to get through to them. I don't even know where to begin in terms of connection. Perhaps they are in their double-digit stage, 11, 12, 13. And so this parent is hurting, because I've spoken to a parent like that who is hurting that they can't get through to their child. I don't know how to talk to them anymore because everything I say seems polarizing. We're going to fight about it. It's like mommy doesn't understand or daddy doesn't understand. How would that parent try to begin a fresh connection line? Is it even possible? What are some of the things that they can do in a situation like that?
That's no, I hear you, and we have to understand that parents, as well as children, struggle with different things, and the struggle for parents is to balance respect, because we are always worried about losing respect. And as well as humble ourselves enough to be able to reconnect with our children. Where you asked, where should that parent begin from? They should begin from where the problem started. Because, what is very interesting in I did relational science, and what is interesting is that we always know where the problem started from.
That's true.
Right? Now, most of the time, we probably don't give it so much attention. But when we check, when we subject our brains to so much thinking, when we challenge our brains, we know there's something that happened. Because even in therapy, we always ask, when did that start? Any life event, any turn, any junction where you think you missed that point, anything, maybe. Now, we are able to explain the biological clock issues and psychology and cognition, but then there are certain things that happened that probably a parent didn't pay attention to, and so that should be the starting point. Because when a relationship breaks and you know what happened at that point, don't try to fix it at this point. Go back to that. Because when someone is struggling with something, for instance, I talked about breaking trust. Like a child shares their story with you and trusts you, and you say, I will keep this to myself, I'll pray for you, and then the next time they hear
from
it is
auntie so and so.
That if you know that's the issue, please address that. right? Address that, and you could go back to them without losing respect. You know, this respect is we earn it by even being humble. You see, so if you go back to your child and you say, I notice this, I notice maybe hostility or something. Is there anything you want us to talk about? Could this be related to this and this? Because in your heart, you know, that could be an issue. So that helps a parent to reconnect, because through that, a child also learns that you can fall and apologize and work.
You're still teaching and training.
You're teaching and training, because that's a teachable moment. You see, so if we do that, we love parents, we love being big, we love being the boss. But you know, there are moments which are going to require utmost humility.
Yeah.
And so if you have to go to your child, it's going to have a double-edged benefit. Number one, that you're able to reconnect, but also you're teaching this child that some of those principles that, you know, I can. And when a child sees that a parent can come low and try to reconnect, that's a big plus. It's powerful. So it's important for parents to know that I can connect with the child that way. However, there are moments where it's so confusing, because a child may be also getting so many stories everywhere, and they have their brains are picking so many things. Now, a parent has to, in that situation, I always tell parents, one of you has to be bigger. In that situation, one of you has to be a parent. Because and it has to be you.
It has to be you.
You know, it has to be you. Because when this child is pulling off all manner of unbelievable strokes, and you feel disrespected, and they are running, they are being emotional. We have to remember that most of the time when children are pulling this off, they are acting on an emotional mind.
Yes.
And so what happens, sometimes parents, we fall for that. We also get emotional, we lose it, we assure them we do that. No, that's a moment where one of you has to be a parent, and you have to be the one. You know, so that is important. However, should everything fail, as we say, if symptoms persist, if you're not able to see so much change, you realize the child is not stable enough, again, you be the parent, and you say, do you want to talk to someone else? Like that's where we encourage parents to suggest therapy. Do you want to talk to someone neutral, a professional? You know, I would never get to know. I will not be in there. Is there anything that you would want to talk to them about that maybe you can't share with me? Right? Because sometimes, Rachel, parents, we also become too much. We think this child, you're the only support system in the world.
They must share with you, and you alone.
No, God has put so many support systems around us. He himself being number one.
Yes.
And so there are certain moments where you're going to direct this child to the Lord and say, is there anything you want me to pray about? Or do you want to pray? Or do you want to talk to someone? Do you want to talk to Uncle who? That's why we encourage that, we encourage those systems that can support children. What do? We say, these are my children. You know, you're my friends. No, there are systems that can support, because if your children respect auntie who, respect uncle who, and we have to nurture these deliberately. Have you met parents who teach their children selfishness and self-centeredness? And they just kill all the systems around them, and they are just their only friend. That doesn't work.
Dangerous.
It's dangerous. So we have to nurture supportive systems. For instance, I know my children, there are some uncles, there are aunties they respect.
They will open up.
They will open up to them, and it is okay if they can open up. That's why it takes a village to raise a child. That hasn't ended because it's a 21st century. No. We have to nurture those deliberately. Are they many? I don't know, but we have to nurture those. That's why if we nurture our children to respect a number of points, that is going to be supportive. If we nurture our children to fear the Lord and to go to Him and connect with Him, that's powerful.
Yep.
So they can't just be your friends.
You are the beginning and the end.
Yeah, so it is okay if that parent is stuck. Those are some of the things they could do, right?
Yeah.
I could summarize them for you once again.
Please.
Number one, check where the relationship started from, where you started,
Where the breakdown
started.
Yes.
Very important. Two, check where you need to humble yourself and do a double-edged sword benefit, where you're able to teach as you also solve a problem. Humble yourself if it requires that. Don't be worried about losing power. Power is embedded in your approach, in humility, in the way you support the child. And should symptoms persist, seek
medical,
professional help. Professional therapy is very important. There are certain things the child might be going through that they may not open up to you. And if they feel that even if they spoke to you, you would not listen, they're just going to say, okay, that's okay.
That's it.
I'm okay.
And then they shut down.
And then they shut down.
And then you're at an impasse. And you can't even move forward.
Yes.
So I've actually really enjoyed this conversation. I don't think I had made the connection between friendship versus connection with your child. And I think you're very right when you say that friendship it's a human concept. It's fickle, it's conditional, it's subjective, and it's neither here nor there.
It's flimsy.
Yeah, it's very flimsy. And I think with connection and our children, you're able to go so far, you're able to achieve a lot more, and just that desire that we have for our children to be in our lives and for us to be in their lives is very, very important. So I just wanted to appreciate you for shedding light on this concept of, must I be my child's friend? Will I lose respect, if I'm my child's friend? I think it has kind of come full circle for me, and I believe even for our audience. So we are wrapping this up. Do you have any parting shots, something that you'd want our audience to go away with?
Yes, I think I want to emphasize the issue of parents turning their children into their confidants,
Yes.
yet we don't consider the weight we are putting on them. As a matter of fact, this is one of the reasons some children are carrying traumatic experiences, because there are certain things they are not able to deal with at a certain point. And so as parents, we have to be very, very careful what we are telling the children. I already mentioned, which I want to emphasize now as part of my parting shots, that this child's brain can only accommodate so much, and so parents, let's not put so much weight on them over certain things they are not able to navigate. If your partner is cheating, or that a child may not be able to, they may not be able to process that, right? And this happens a lot. It's not unusual for parents, especially moms, to go to their children and say, "Can you imagine your dad is cheating?" They go like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?"
Yeah,
and so, what
does that mean for our family?
What does that mean for our family?
Yes.
And so how is this child supposed to process that? So remember, every information we put to the children, they have to process it. But do they have the brains to really navigate that heavy weight? So that's number one. Number two, we have to avoid what we call, maybe related to that, is a concept we call emotional incest. Emotional incest, that's the whole thing where we turn children into our intimate, but maybe that's the best friend, issue.
Yes.
But once again, this amount of emotion, the children are not able to take it.
Too much.
Right? So it's called incest, emotional incest. But lastly, I want to say this to parents, that what our children are looking for in us is not a best friend. They are actually looking for a good parent.
Interesting.
Yeah. Children are not looking for a best friend. If that happens, unexpected benefit.
Oh yeah, icing on the cake.
Icing on the cake.
Yes.
But the number one thing a child looks for in a parent is a good parent.
Yeah.
And we've had lots of conversations here. A good parent is one who gives instruction, who gives guidance, but also provides warmth, provides love, provides a place where a child can fall, provides attention, provides care when they need it. That's what a good parent looks like to a child, right? But for us to run and look for friendship, I think that might be fluid.
Yeah.
We may not understand it, and then can mean anything to anyone. And so, once again, what your child is looking for in you is not a best friend, but a good parent.
Yeah. And I guess that also speaks to your mental health as a parent. So you need to be able to take care of yourself to pour into your children.
Yes, but also be able to balance, because you see, every time we pursue friendship, we cannot avoid appeasement. Yeah, every time we are pursuing friendship, the brain just conditions us a certain way. Now, is friendship bad? No. But what are the fundamentals here? The fundamental is guidance, it is warmth, it is love, it is all that. If that translates into friendship, that's okay.
Well and good.
Well and good.
Yeah,
but that's why even God doesn't say go and be friends with your child.
No.
Do we have that in the Bible?
Not there.
No. He says go teach, instruct, punish.
Yeah. Yes.
How do we punish a friend?
It becomes a bit difficult.
We get compromised. And to be honest with you, that's why I always remind us that we don't have spare brains. You have only one. How you condition it will determine how you conduct yourself around a certain issue. So if you're going to pursue friendship, rather parenting from the standpoint of friendship, there are certain things that may fail.
That's true.
Are you going to have tough conversations? How many of us hold tough conversations with our friends? That's why that concept never appeals to me so much.
Yeah.
I understand friendships, but how many friends do you have? For instance, Rachel, how many friends do you have? How many can you sit with and see what they are going through and say, can we have a cup of coffee? Can we talk about this? And then you say, you know what, I love you so much, but I realize this journey might not be helpful to you. How many?
Not many.
Not many. Now, so if we are going to turn our children into best friends, yet we can't even hold tough conversations with certain, and parenting, the journey of parenting is very hard. And so you get to a point where your children are your friends and you can't even call them out. Someone will challenge me and say, what do you mean I can call them? If you're a parent that can do that, well and good. But I'm not so sure there are many parents that can do that.
Yeah.
If you have 5 children, I'm not so sure all of them you can be able to call them out. If your approach to parenting is friendship, that might be a little bit compromised.
Yeah. A perfect way to end the show. I think when it's all been said and done, friendship will compromise your parenting journey. So I think something to definitely watch out for. Thank you for watching. Thank you for always tuning in to Reality Check. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments. We'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this conversation. Are you friends with your children? What's your idea of friendship? Would you prefer friendship to connection? Do you feel more enlightened by this conversation? Let us know. Would love to hear from you. We'll be back next week with another conversation right here on Reality Check. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, and keep it Reality Check. Bye.